A Premier League club once sold its own stadium just to stay alive. 20 years later, that very same ground is at the heart of an £85 million transformation that will nearly double its capacity and reshape the club's future. This is AFC Bournemouth and the Vitality Stadium, the smallest ground ever to host Premier League football. It has survived bankruptcy, spent more than 2 decades in someone else's ownership, and seen one expansion plan after another fail before a single brick of this redevelopment was finally laid. For most Premier League clubs, a stadium with just 11,000 seats would be unthinkable. For Bournemouth, it has simply been home. But that's all about to change, because the journey from selling a stadium just to survive to rebuilding it into one fit for the club's ambitions is a story few clubs could ever tell. It all began in 1910, when the Cooper Dean family donated a former gravel pit to a small football club on England's south coast. That unlikely piece of land became Dean Court. But from the very beginning, nothing went to plan. The pitch wasn't ready for the start of the season, so Bournemouth played their opening matches next door at Kings Park, while the players changed in a nearby hotel because the dressing rooms hadn't been built yet. It was a modest beginning for a stadium that would carry the Cooper Dean name for more than a century. Over the decades, Dean Court slowly evolved alongside the club. New stands were added in the 1930s, and the entire ground was rebuilt in 2001, with the pitch rotated by 90 degrees to make better use of the limited site. But despite all those changes, the stadium always felt like a work in progress. An ambitious redevelopment in the 1980s collapsed when funding ran out halfway through construction, forcing a half-built stand to be demolished and the land behind it to be turned into housing. It was the first major reminder that money, not ambition, would shape Dean Court's future. That brings us to 2005, the moment Bournemouth came closest to losing their home. Buried in debt and fighting for survival in the lower leagues, the club made a desperate decision. To stay alive, they sold their own stadium. In a sale and leaseback deal with London property company Structa Dean, Dean Court was no longer owned by Bournemouth. The deal saved the club from financial collapse, but it created a problem that would haunt them for the next 20 years. Without owning their own stadium, investing millions in a major redevelopment was almost impossible. While the club slowly rebuilt itself on the pitch, the stadium stood almost exactly as it was. Then, almost overnight, everything changed. Bournemouth's promotion to the Premier League in 2015 transformed the club, but the stadium never kept pace. Renamed the Vitality Stadium, it held just 11,286 supporters, making it the smallest ground in the Premier League. The club had outgrown its own home. Ticket demand exploded, but capacity never changed, leaving thousands of supporters unable to buy a seat. The financial gap grew wider too. Fewer seats meant lower attendances, limited hospitality, and millions less in matchday revenue than many of their rivals earned every season. There were attempts to solve the problem. In 2017, the club unveiled plans for a brand new stadium nearby, but despite the early excitement, the project was eventually abandoned when the funding failed to materialize. The real breakthrough came under Bill Foley, the American billionaire who took over the club in 2022. Rather than chase the expensive dream of starting from scratch elsewhere, Foley went straight to the root of the problem, and that was ownership. In April 2025, he announced that Bournemouth had bought Vitality Stadium back from Structa Dean for £3.5 million, ending 20 years as tenants in their own home. From that moment, the expansion that had been blocked for 2 decades was finally back on the table. Planning permission was submitted in January 2026, and by May 2026, the council unanimously approved the redevelopment. Then came another milestone. Bournemouth finished 6th in the Premier League and qualified for European football for the first time in the club's history. For the first time in a generation, the club owned its home, had European football to look forward to, and finally had a stadium project to match its ambitions. But what exactly are they planning to build, and why has this expansion become one of the most ambitious engineering projects in English football? When Bill Foley revealed his vision for the Vitality Stadium, he summed it up in one simple phrase: stay here and dig down. Instead of building a new stadium elsewhere, Bournemouth chose to redevelop the one they already had. With the stadium surrounded by homes and strict height restrictions, building upwards wasn't a realistic option. So the plan is to lower the pitch and make better use of the existing space. The approved £85 million redevelopment will increase capacity from 11,286 to more than 20,200, almost doubling the stadium's size, while allowing Bournemouth to continue playing at home throughout construction. The project is being completed in phases, with work already underway ahead of the 2026-27 season. The biggest transformation is at the South Stand. The temporary Ted McDougall stand is being demolished and replaced by a modern two-tier grandstand holding around 7,000 supporters, standing 30 meters tall and becoming the largest structure in the stadium's history. The lower tier opens for 2026-27, with the full stand ready for the 2027-28 season. Around the rest of the bowl, all four corners are being filled in, adding 1,440 seats and stitching the stands together into a proper enclosed arena. The north stand grows from 2,408 to nearly 3,700 seats and gets a brand new roof, while the east stand expands from 3,409 to approximately 5,220, both raised by around 5 meters. The old leaking main stand roof is already gone, replaced by a sleek new structure with a transparent polycarbonate front that floods the stand with natural light. And every seat across the entire stadium is being swapped out for sharp matte black seating with red AFC lettering, giving the ground a unified visual identity it has never had before. Inside, the hospitality transformation is equally significant. The top floor restaurant is being expanded with full-height glazing and improved pitch views. The Cherry Orchard Suite is being enlarged, and a brand new sports bar and a garden hospitality area are being added across the ground. These aren't minor upgrades. With existing premium packages already running at 95% capacity, the new spaces are designed to unlock a revenue stream the club has barely been able to tap. Beyond the stands, the entire matchday experience is being rebuilt from scratch. A covered fan zone with food and drink is being created outside the ground. New turnstiles and a relocated ticket office are going in. A dedicated broadcast compound is being built for television crews, and the pitch is being completely relayed with a modern drainage system underneath. By the time supporters walk in for the first home game of 2026-27, the Vitality Stadium will already look like a different ground. But completing this transformation in phases while hosting Premier League and European football simultaneously brings a set of challenges all of its own. The road to expanding the Vitality Stadium has been almost as difficult as Bournemouth's rise to the Premier League. Long before the current project, the club spent years chasing plans that never became reality. In 2016, then Chief Executive Neil Blake revealed that Bournemouth's preferred option was to buy the stadium back from Structadene and redevelop it. But negotiations broke down, with the club refusing to pay what it believed was an inflated price. At the same time, the local council showed little support for a much larger stadium at Kings Park. So, in 2017, Bournemouth changed direction and announced plans for a brand new stadium on nearby training pitches. But the project never got off the ground after funding fell through. Even after Bill Foley took over in 2022, the plans continued to change, with different ideas for expanding or rebuilding the stadium. It wasn't until April 2025, when Foley finally bought the Vitality Stadium back from Structadene, that the uncertainty ended and the club could finally move forward with a clear expansion plan. But even with the stadium back in the club's hands, the challenges were far from over. When the full planning application went before the council in May 2026, the meeting was postponed from 11th May until later in the month. It seemed like a small delay, but it had a major impact on the entire construction schedule. The number of new seats planned for the 2026-27 season was cut from 1,500 to just 800, while the opening of the new South Stand's lower tier was pushed back by a full year. The club also confirmed there would be no new season tickets for the 2026-27 campaign, meaning thousands of supporters on the waiting list would have to keep relying on match-by-match tickets as the redevelopment slowly progressed. Behind the scenes, the challenges went far beyond planning permission. Ground surveys had to check for possible unexploded World War II bombs beneath a site, while Bournemouth's qualification for European football brought even more work. To meet UEFA standards, the club had to enlarge the away dressing room, upgrade officials' and coaches' facilities, rebuild the players' tunnel, and make further changes to the Ted McDougall stand before hosting its first European home match. For a club that once had to sell its own stadium just to survive, this redevelopment represents far more than extra seats or new stands. It's the final piece of Bournemouth's incredible rise from the brink of bankruptcy to competing on the European stage. If everything stays on schedule, the 2027-28 season will mark the beginning of a completely new era for the Cherries. But what do you think? Is expanding the Vitality Stadium the right decision? Or should Bournemouth have built a brand new stadium instead? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more football stories.